Good morning, happy people. My name is Jay Song. Everything in this video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast in the morning. Trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. All right, we last left USDT.D, so our big market forecaster, in an area where we have an upcoming vortex, and it was sitting on top of one of the backup supports. This is a mid-phantom. Now this mid-phantom places its final area up here, and I don't believe we're going to experience a move that far, that high up. When this chart goes up, your cryptos come down. I don't really believe that's going to be the case, but I do believe we're going to be hitting this top line again, which at the time was 4.61, and if it hits here somewhere around January 22nd, it should be around 4.4%. Now this is important because there's a vortex here. Now our long pink line that we've been watching for several years finally meets this downward trend somewhere around January 22nd, which means that if prices are able to build in this area and prices are able to come back up, we're going to be looking for a strong move down after we hit that pocket. But that gives us a little bit of timing because today is only January 13th. So we last saw our last support at 3.86. This is the one that we did last week. We were looking for a close underneath here. We didn't get the close, we just stopped there. Therefore, we got the bounce. Now this bounce meant that we should be bearish for a few days, and what we were bearish for a few days. Now I don't want to, now that we're sitting back on top of this area and hitting this area one more time, I'm more in the camp that we're going to hit this pocket, and it's going to be very large round structure, and that's going to facilitate a very large bullish move, because when this chart comes down, cryptos are going to be up. So I'm going to be looking for prices to, as I mentioned before, hang out in this area for a few days. So I'm not really looking for any kind of super bullish movement this week, at least until we hit this pocket or hit that top line. Now with that said, you need to understand that the width of these candles on a day-to-day basis is already the width of here. So I'm not really looking for anything really bearish either, because again, when this chart comes up, cryptos come down, but we can come up to that pocket and you won't even notice a change, because in a 24-hour window, the width of the average spread is that distance. Do you understand that? So for example, if I go to this particular day, a few days ago, we moved all the way up here and came all the way down here in a single day. The very next day, we did the same thing, all the way up there and came all the way down in a single day. The next day, all the way up here and all the way down here in a single day. What area do we really need to hit? We need to hit about right there. It's nothing new that we've done. It's not like we're really experiencing a bearish movement. We could just do the same thing every day and you won't even see a difference, which means that these normal swings in the market are probably not going to be as violent as we think, provided we get to January 22nd in that area. Now, if we go all the way up today, it can be bearish and it can look scary. But again, this line has been established for months, actually years, okay? But we've been watching it for months, okay? I'm letting you guys know, and this is an image that we've had since this week. Here is the monthly look for the USDT.D. We are underneath that pink line. We got the close in November. In December, we stopped right there on the line. So this month, the next month, January, should be a month where it should be bullish. So I'm still going to be a bullish in the month. I'm still going to be looking to close under here so that we'll have a lot of energy for it to come down in a very big way. And that's still how I read this chart. Okay. Anyway, these are some of the things I've seen. This is another chart look at some of the larger gesture that we're going to be talking again later in the month and even this week on Wednesday. I can see that all the structure and energy. This is a weekly chart, so that means each one of these little tiny bars is 1 week worth of time, which means this is over several years. Over several years, this has been the trend, and we are underneath this building in a bearish spot. So that means that we have more incentive to come down, which means when this comes down, markets go up. So I'm going to be still bullish the markets, although this week I'm not looking for anything super dramatic to happen. Now, with that said, let's go and take a look at what's happening today. So I'll pull up our trading view chart. I'm going to come up here to the little plus button. I'm going to click on it, and there's my search bar. I'm going to type in USDT.D, not USDT. I'm not looking Tether. I'm looking for the dominance that the stable coin has. Okay, I'm going to click on that and it's going to show up here. So I'm going to click this little tiny bar right there and click on that. And that's going to open up my chart and remember all of my lines. All right. So if I look today and what happened yesterday, Sunday, I can see that this chart went up and spiked that line exactly. Okay, now we drew all of this for you guys Saturday. Again, the number for that day was 4.61. That was for the week, for the day of, is this a 2-day chart? Let me turn up the daily chart. Okay, that was for the day of January 11th. Okay, but if I go to today, to the 13th, January 13th, look at the line is down here. This is the line we're tracking. See here. I highlighted in black as best I can, but is it accurate or is it not accurate? Did I change this angle? No, it's the same angle. If I change the angle, I'm gonna let you guys know. This is the angle I drew. This is the resistance. This is the pink line here. That one. I highlighted it. That's the pink line we've been tracking for months. That's the one we adjusted 2 months ago to be slightly higher, to be more accurate for the monthly chart. And look, is price respecting both? You bet your nana. Look, there's the core and there's the wick, and it hit exactly the number for that day. We tracked it that day, but I teach you in this class, every day you can track the exact number that you need to hit for some of your lines by just taking your tool and moving it down the track. That number is going to decrease. If I move it up the track, it's going to increase. So I can know that whatever day, I can just mark that and know what the maximum price that I should be getting towards when I'm looking for some of these important resistances. Okay, does that make sense? So with that said, the number for today, if we were going to hit it, was around 4.55. Okay, did you see how I did it? When I gave it to you Saturday, I said we're going to be looking to hit that top line and even the vortex possibly if we take our time. So if all we did was just hang out doing the same thing, we're going to hit the vortex and come down. But as I mentioned on Saturday, price can hit that relatively short. So was yesterday a bearish day for the markets? Primarily. I remember Melody looking and says, oh no, my crypto fell. It wasn't that bad because it's still the same general width as most of these candles. Okay, what I mean by that is the average candle is around this tall. Okay, so is this anything above average? No, not much, except for that wick was a little bit scary, right, for the market. All right, is that not good? Wow, Jae-Sung, this is awesome stuff. Wow, Jae-Sung, this is so cool. I know, right? I saw this guy doing the whips, like in a demonstration, he's doing the whips. And you go, whoa, and he would look at you and go, I know, it's so cool. And he would do that, but nobody liked that. Thank you, Lisa. She says it's so cool. Yeah. Okay, so therefore, do we have cause to panic today? Is the market doing anything that we're not really accounting for?
Oh, the man, Jae-Sung.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm here on Thursdays. No, I'm not. I'm not here on Thursdays. I'm here on Mondays.
You mean corn man?
What I'm saying is, let's go back to the question. Do we have cause to panic? Okay. Do we have cause to panic today so far? No. If we see anything that is, when might we want to panic on this chart? Can somebody kind of show me when we might want to change what we're doing and get out of some cryptos? When we might want to be really bearish the market, when we might want to say XRP might be a little bit dangerous in this season, when might we start thinking that the season is really dangerous? Can somebody show us? There it is. Who drew that? Somebody drew it in yellow. Do you see what they drew in yellow? If you're watching this video later on, the person in yellow drew an area something like this. I'll try to draw what they drew. That's what they drew, and that's correct. When we are getting into new territories, then we can start thinking about some new things. Here is the territory. It's this green line on top of here. That's when we can start thinking to ourselves, this might be dangerous. If price is breaking above here today, we get some closes, and we come back down to that pocket on January 22nd, especially January 22nd week, I'm going to be thinking to myself, man, we're probably going to be going up from here because we're breaking up, and that might be bearish for the market. Okay, but until I see that, and I still see that the larger story is round, I have no reason to really think that. This is the story that I actually still see right now. I still see us rounding underneath this. It's taken a long time, But when I first had this monologue, I said it can happen in a day. We can hit the pink line again in a day now that we're closed. We can happen over some weeks, or even can happen over several months. Did I not say that? And when I said that, and we hit it in a day, I said, oh, we might come down from here. But then we only hit the DP projection, and we came back up. That was still normal. It's starting to now round. Then we came back down, higher highs, higher highs, and higher lows. We are rounding. But again, for me, I don't believe it changes the story. It's just still the same structures under here. Now, I do want to check the volume because it may be cause for concern. What am I going to be looking for in the volume? Again, I haven't looked at this chart. I have not looked at this chart today. I'm just as surprised to see these happening live, but I do these demonstrations live because I can get away with it. Because I tell you what we're looking for before they happen, so you know with more confidence. If we don't see that, then we're looking for something new. But if we still see it, then we already know what to expect. So that's why I've done these demonstrations on Saturday, on Monday, and it's still the same stuff. What might I be looking for in the volume today? And what might it mean? Can somebody tell me what things Jae-Sung might be looking at? Let us remain calm, says Lisa. Let us remain. That's so funny. I love it, Lisa. Somebody tell me today what type of volume I'm gonna look for. I'm gonna pull up the volume in just a second, but let's just have a class moment and talk so we can get a good gauge about what might happen next. Let's see, Jason Walker, did you want to attempt, Jason?
I was thinking low volume would mean the move is less significant, and high volume would mean it's more significant.
You're right. We want to be looking for low volume and we want to be looking for high volume. The high volume might be more significant and it might mean something. So yes, we're going to be looking for a low or high volume. Now I want to compare that low or high volume with something. So I'm going to be looking at the volume here in this area, and I want to compare that volume. Let's mark this and just make it like baby blue. Okay. I want to compare that volume with something. So let me hide my lines. Let's just hide everything real quick. Give us a clean chart. In just a few moments, we're going to be looking at the volume on this bar for today so far. And if it's low or high, I want to compare it with something. What do I want to compare it with? So I have a baseline of knowing what's high or low and what it might mean. So anyone want to take that part of the question? Where do we want to compare this volume with and to what? And what might it mean? Either one of those questions.
The area where it currently is now, other spikes, that same area.
Can you show on the chart to show what you were talking about? I know what you mean, but for those who are watching. Good coffee. Do you see where she drew? She drew a spike here. She's going to be looking at the volume here, and she's going to be comparing it with the volume here. Now why? Because these candles are the previous highs. Now we're going to be looking for something here. All right, let's look at what we don't want to see. Does anybody know what type of volume I don't want to see, low or high, and why I may not want to see that? Okay, so I'm going to be looking at what the volume is here and here. We can maybe label it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What type of volume do we not want to see and why? Okay.
I'm thinking because the USDT dominance chart is opposite to all the other ones.
Okay.
That you would want to see low volume here, where ordinarily you'd want to see high volume.
Correct. And why would I want to see that low volume? Do you know why? But yeah, that's the right answer.
Because the interest level, this shows the interest level is low going high on this chart.
Yes.
So that means that we're near a top.
Yes. If I see high volume, this is when I end up drawing these areas here. If I see that the volume on the bottom chart, just a moment, is increasing at the challenge. Okay, I'm gonna type that in just to give you guys a baseline, using this as a teaching moment. Are we increasing in volume at the challenge? Okay, if we do increase, that tells us there's still too much of a market up there, and that's where this would come in. Let's duplicate it, and I'm gonna put the question mark. so that people don't remember this chart and saying, yeah, that's the end all be all. Okay. If I see a strong volume and the volume is not drying up, then that tells me there's still too much of a market. We're going to be looking for still higher prices. However, let's now flip it around. If I see the volume at these levels drying up, okay, when I pull up the volume, again, we haven't looked at it, but it's a good indication of what might happen next. If I see the volume drying up, there's no more interest in the up move after it's spent, especially after it's spent some significant time in here. If there's no more interest and the volume is dried up here, then it's unlikely we're going to see or have an incentive for them to drive it higher. So that would mean most likely that's not going to be the case. That's if we see a decrease in volume. And again, we don't know because we haven't watched. So we're going to be watching the volume here. If I see a higher volume, again, I know I'm going higher. Now, why don't I want this chart going higher? Somebody remind me that. Why don't we want this chart going higher?
Because your cryptos go down.
Because our cryptos go down. I have a good baseline because I've challenged this multiple times, 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now this 5th time is going to be very revealing about what might be the case. If I see a very strong high volume, I know most likely I'm probably going to spend some more time up here in this quadrant. Now, luckily I have some backup nets, but this line already hitting my resistance tells me I don't really want to hit that more. I don't want to get on that side. So I'm looking for the volume to really be dried up. Now, I don't mind a higher volume here, but a high volume, it just cannot be excessively higher than the volumes that we have been comparing them to. So if I see like the volumes increasing like this, even though it's high volume, I'm comparing it to the macro, what's happening in the story. Okay, and I don't want it to be excessively high. I don't mind like some high volume for the day, maybe like here, I'll show you. I don't mind a volume like high for the day comparatively in the micro, but I'm comparing it to the macro. I want to see something like that. Okay, so that's what we want to look for. All right, so ready? Are we ready to look and see what it might be telling us, if it's ready, if it's cooked in the oven or not? Here we go. Oh, can't see it. Yep, no. Let's hide my histogram under the settings and turn off my moving average histogram. All right, here it is. You guys tell me what's happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happened at point 1 to 2? Did the volume increase or decrease? Decrease. Okay, what about from 2 to 3? Increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Okay, let's do this together. Decrease, decrease. This is a good sign that the markets should be falling, right? So when we move into a bearish area or weakness, it's more likely we should be going down. Okay. If there's one more challenge, if there is, we compare those challenges together. Here's the challenge from 3 to 4. What was 3 to 4 telling us? Increase or decrease? Look, increase. So when we see an increase and the challenge is in the same area, what does that generally mean? Those are the times when I say look for one more challenge, right? And we've been covering this. We've been covering this. Look for one more challenge. That's why I said, especially on Saturday, I said don't be surprised when we come back up to those areas, especially the vortex, because of those challenges. Now, that would make sense why we have this move back into these areas, especially on the wick side, or somewhere here. It would make sense because there's still high volume at those 2 areas. So it's telling us, hey, there's still a market in here. So that would make sense. Check. Good. We got what we were looking for. We were looking for prices to remain or challenge one more time. So what do you think the challenge is headed right now? In a positive direction or a negative direction? Are we going the right way or the wrong way as to try to get prices lower? If we want this chart to go low so that our cryptos go higher, is this a good move or a bad move for those lower prices?
Good move.
Yeah, good move for lower prices.
Good move for lower prices. That's correct. That's correct. That means we're headed in the right direction. If we had saw a very high volume bar, that would tell us we're probably going higher. There's still too much market there. The market hasn't removed the floating supply at that level. There's still too much. But as it is, the market, the volume is in the right direction. Now, problem. What's the problem here with the volume on this chart? Okay, what's the problem? Does anybody know the problem? I'm going to zoom in and see if anyone can identify the problem. Okay, I'm going to tell you the problem, but I want to see if you guys can get it. Okay, and afterwards, then you're going to facepalm yourself. Okay, this is a facepalm. What's the problem? I'm going to zoom in until somebody understands the problem. I'm going to zoom in more. What's the problem? Camino, you know it?
I see a higher high, and I got 8 hours to go. So it's like it's just getting started. Halfway through.
Halfway through. There's still 8 hours left to go. 8 hours and 50 minutes left to go. In before that volume's closed. He's right. Okay. That means that there's still not enough time. There's still time that this volume can go higher and higher. Now, sometimes it's set pretty much in the morning. Sometimes it's set in the middle of the day. Sometimes it's set in the afternoon. But to confirm more what the bigger forecast is going to be for the next week, we want to see lower highs. So in the next 8 hours, is it possible that this volume will go higher?
Jason, some of the people that I'm talking to that deal with timing,
Yep.
they're talking about market correction somewhere between noon and 3 today.
Okay.
So we might still get another correction and then upward projection for tomorrow.
Okay. Good. You heard the man. Now, is the volume going to possibly go higher? Can it go higher? Yes. The answer is yes. Can the volume go lower? Yes or no? Can volume go lower today on this bar?
Yes.
Okay, we got one yes.
How could it go lower? It's already happened, right?
The answer is it cannot go lower. And the reason it can't go lower is because all volume is a record of activity. The volume as a whole can trend lower, but in individual bars, it cannot go down. It doesn't go up and down. The individual bars only go up. So that's a little way, in some ways, it's a little trick question. Because yes, volume can trend lower, in that sense go lower, but individual bars cannot go up and down. It is just a record of activity, buying and selling. So all this up bar is just, all this bar right here is buying and selling. If there's more buying and selling, just say 1 million people sold, that's going to increase the activity of how much money was transferred hands. If somebody buys, it's just going to continue tracking more activity. However many dollars, here's $400 billion worth of tether. Okay, a lot of money in this, okay, huge money. It just tracks how much money is trading hands, up or down, but it does not go down. So whether we're trading, selling, markets going down or markets going up will only increase how much activity. It's like a volume bar that fills up. I can fill it with Coke and I can fill it with Dr. Pepper. So it doesn't matter which one it is. It's just going to keep getting higher and higher the more I put. It's not going to take away. It will trend down, and that's good, but it will not. So that's a way for you guys to remember that, okay?
Yeah, basically, it's not going to change, but it can change color.
Yeah, it can change color based on whether the candle's going up or down. See, I have mine's linked to each bar, so all of these bars are red, so these are going to be primarily red. This one's white, so it's going to be white. These two are white right here, so these two are going to be white. But you can use those. Actually, I'm sorry, mine's are not linked to the bars individually. They are linked to the previous bar, right? I have to check which my colors are. You guys can change your color coding. It's not really that important. But generally, they should be linked to your bars. Okay, so we're going to find out, as it is, it's trending somewhat in the right direction. We just don't really want to pass this old bar. If I pass that bar, then probably there's going to be almost more certainly a challenge. If I just equal this bar, it's probably still going to stay in for the next few days because it's still a little bit higher comparatively for today. Okay, so more likely we're still going to stay here a few days. If I saw it very low and we hit there, I'm going to be thinking, yes, they removed all the supply of this challenge. But as it is, there's still some supply in that challenge relatively in proportion to what we're doing. We're trending the right direction, but it's not complete. So I'm going to be looking probably for one more challenge. Now, if I put back on my lines, that means to me that just because I hit 4.55, I am not looking for us to come all the way down and be bullish today. I'm probably going to see maybe even one more time and still probably the week of January 22nd vortex. Okay. All right. So this doesn't change our analysis. So far, we're still all in the right direction. All right. Anyone else? Questions, comments, USDT.D before I look at cryptos today? Camino.
Yeah, one more thing. There's a bunch of Fed numbers coming out this week, so if we get some bad news or something, expect USDT to go up even a little further.
Good. Okay.
Be careful this week.
You heard the man. Be careful this week. Why do I have that second black line? I should be, that black one, that second one should be a little bit higher along this track. So let me go to next tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to give you some more maximum numbers just for that sake. Here. I shall borrow this other one. The 4.21 I don't need anymore. So tomorrow, I'm going to give you another maximum number, 5.01%. And again, that's based on this upper parabolic and the flow of price and this larger oscillation based on some of my 5.0. I'm sorry, based on some of my sword method 7.0, star method, sword method fusion. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that these numbers are clearly seen. 5.5 for today. 4.44 is still along the pink track, so somewhere between this and 4.55. I'm looking for those cores to stay there. If I get any higher for today, I'm going to be looking for 5.1, and then tomorrow that will come down. Okay, that will come down 4.93, and then later on January 22nd week that will be 4.86. So there's a big gap in there. But these are some of the numbers where we may be and still remain our bullish position. So again, I don't really care that this is going up so much as long as I'm holding on to my position. That's mostly what I'm carried about, because markets can stay low for a long time. These big players can stay there, and then once we start coming down, we're gonna break the low again. That low that we had at 3.86. Now that's gonna rise up, and it's 3.94. Or as I mentioned, as I gave you guys before, the 9.1 for today. That's the bullish. That'll be when this comes down. That'll be very bullish. So these are just going to move to the side. Okay. So all of that still stays in play. Any other questions, comments, USDT.D before I do cryptos? Okay. Remember, when we come down, it's going to be a very big move. Okay. Very big move down, and a lot of money is going to be made on the table for markets and crypto.
Yeah, question. I don't really know how to phrase my question in relation to BTC, but and I wasn't able to concentrate, I suppose, as well as I would have liked on what you were just saying. But what's your thoughts of Bitcoin right now? So I mean, there's quite a lot of people bearish. Like the sentiment in the market is a bit bearish, but there's some people has been speculated of a move back to 97 or 98, but that's not clear whether that's already happened. And then I'm definitely expecting us to see 85 at some point. Do you think we might have a last move to the upside for Bitcoin before that 85, or do you think we're heading more or less to that 85 relatively soon? Do you think like a liquidation spike to the upside first, or not, or something like that?
Thank you for your question. My last assessment on Bitcoin was there were supports closer to the 90s. I believe it's actually 87. I think that's what I have, but I'll look at it again. But from what I remember, I'm not really looking for a big move up until we're hitting 87. And since we haven't hit really 87, I'm not really going to be so bullish at the moment until we're really hitting that support. Knowing that this has upside potential here to here, that means that Bitcoin can be trending in a weaker state. Okay, until really this is giving us the real reason for us to come down. Then I'm going to still stay. I'm still going to be a little bit bearish and shorter term Bitcoin, bullish longer term Bitcoin. Okay, but in the more midterm, I'm still looking for Bitcoin to hit somewhere around 87 to the 90s. And I think we hit 90 this morning, actually. I think we just hit 90 this morning. So I'm not going to be still super bullish up to 97. No, I need to have a reason to get 97. Now, if we pass into January 22nd week and we're in that pocket, if that's where we're in that pocket, then I'm going to say, okay, wherever Bitcoin's at, I'm going to be looking for us to probably reverse if the volumes all dry up. Okay, or if we have real strong reversal bars, like I see a strong up bar on high volume, but also a down bar on really high volume, I'm going to be like, yes, the move is starting. So I want to stop expecting at the 87 number. But this gives us lots of time and room to still hit 87 and still be comfortably in position. Yeah, doing this, or even up to there, yeah, there's room up to 87 easily. So I'm gonna are down to 87 easy, especially if we're at 90 or in the 90s right now. Copac, question, comments, USDT.D, the market forecast. No. Okay,
So
Lisa.
you're short-term bearish right now?
Yeah, for Bitcoin. Oh yeah. Anything in this area is what we discussed on Saturday. This area right here was, especially when we're sitting down the next day, tells me there's room to sit and play. We know that. There's our supports. Here's our resistances. That means that this is, in the larger sense, this is a delayed territory. But as I mentioned before on Saturday and on my videos where I talk about USDT.D, this is the little wiggle room. So this wiggle room tells me that the markets are trying to resist again in the areas where it has to, either here, the pocket, or even all the way up here. But I don't think that one's going to happen, but that's what's on the board. So price playing in here, even if we were sitting here, which we were right there, I said, I'm not bullish the market, right? Short term, shorter, like for the next few days. Okay. Overall, I am. But again, this is a lot why when we bounced here, this was a time for us to know that this is going to pull back. That's why I said we need to wait for the next bullish move. Why did I tell everybody that I moved 75% of all my cryptos out of crypto and moved them into XDC and XRP? Because the markets have a chance to go down shorter term until we hit this area. Now, ultimately, I'm very bullish the market, yes. So if all I was doing was hanging on for dear life, I'm going to make some money, I'm going to do well. But for some of you who are more shorter term trading, you need to be aware of, as we mentioned last week, these closes. Because those closes tell you a lot what's really happening in the market. Okay, so now I know that we didn't just get a bounce up to here, but we got the close on this side. So the next thing I'm looking for is us to sit on it. When we sat on it, I know what's already happening. We're going to be playing in here for a little bit. And that's why we talk about that. So if I'm playing in here, that's bearish for markets. So that's how I already know this week shouldn't really be a bullish week. We really shouldn't be coming down so much just yet. We probably are going to play all the way up until that vortex. If all price did was just go straight across, we're going to hit this line again. But if we hit those together at the same time, that's going to be very bullish the markets, and we're going to be looking for markets to come down strong. And it's going to seem like a bull move out of nowhere, but it's not out of nowhere. We know what to expect. We know where to look. It's a larger structure in the overall position. So moves within moves, but this is the more stuff that's probably important for some of you intra-trade, this right here. And for those who are just trying to get a grasp and feel what's happening in the market. Are the markets bearish or bullish? The markets are bullish, but this week is probably a bearish week, just like last week sitting here. So I'm ultimately going to be looking for a large move, possibly towards the end of January. See what we talked about from Saturday and previously this week. Okay, anyone else? Kopek says, no, looks like range bound few days. Does the quick 55 spike increase the chance of resetting the angle line? 55 spike. I don't understand. Do you mean 5 spike? Can you explain Kopek a little bit? Are you able to? I see you. Can you speak in the microphone? Today hit 4.55 on the wick. Yeah, right there. Oh yeah, right there. So you mean like the 5 area? Does the 5 spike increase the chance of resetting on the angled line? Yes, it does. Okay. Do you mean, Kopek, that if we get up here, does it increase the chance that we're going to sit on here? Yes, it does. Is it scary? Oh yeah. I don't want to be on there. I want this pink to hold because I want to be bullish the markets, or I want to continue being bullish the markets without any kind of scary stuff. Because this starts throwing a wrench in the pipes. Right now, everything's still very smooth for a large move. But if we're building here, we could still do it, but then the move would have to be much larger. And I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on this down angle that makes that whole thing possible. So that would be incorporated part of that. But right now, this one it's important and it has 3 touches. But if we had built above there and we come down, I'm going to be really looking for that line. Super important. And then you'll see me talking lots of videos just about this line. But as it is right now, it's still symmetrical. It's still sitting under the pink on the daily chart, monthly chart, weekly chart, all of that. That pink line is so important. But if it breaks, it's going to lessen the importance of that. Camino.
Yes, sir. I know you haven't gotten to it yet, but on USDT, I'm comparing like XRP a little bit,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking with USDT sitting the way it is, and XRP maintaining that level of 237, 232 or whatever.
Mhm.
And once we start headed down with USDT, I feel like XRP is really going to take off.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you, Camino. I'm very much in that camp. That's why I'm so bullish XRP, because even with USDT.D pulling back to its resistances, XRP has not lost its setup compared to almost every other crypto. Almost every other crypto that was trying to climb up out of their resistance areas fell back down into the resistance areas during these moves on USDT. So basically, when the markets went bearish, a lot of these cryptos that were bullish lost their ability to stand on their own legs. But the ones that are standing on their own two legs are XTC, XRP, and even to a degree XLM, but XLM still has some more resistance on top. So that's why I'm like, nah, XLM, not so much, but XRP and XTC sitting fantastically, as we've been discussing, on top of their resistance, so that when this takes off, if it takes off, because we can't force the market to do anything, please. But remember, if we hit this pocket really nice and we slam down, remember, if we hit this pocket, we're probably going to slam down really fast. It's probably going to happen in 5 days or less, because it's so well positioned. This is similar to when we were underneath our resistances that built up for so long. Once we're in there, we have a chance to slam down because we're in those territories. This is an upcoming territory. When we are here and we slam down, these cryptos that are already in position are going to probably take out the gate first, because they're sitting the best. This is how I knew SHIBA was not going to do some stuff a few years ago, because people would ask me about SHIBA all the time. I said, there's so much resistance. It has to get into a good sitting position before it even has a chance to do something. And finally, when it moved into those areas where it had a chance, it took off. Now, it tried to get its most recent setup in the past few months, but that also setup failed. So it pulled back a little bit. So it does need to sit a little bit better. From what I understand, it wasn't that big of a failure. It didn't come back all the way to its lows when we're talking about SHIBA. But a lot of cryptos that are shown to have lots of resistance and are not in a sitting position, they're really not going to go anywhere. You can actually see them and be like, they're not going to go anywhere. So when we look at some cryptos today, I'll try to point out some of that stuff today. Anyone else before I look at markets? I want to look at some cryptos, but I want to make sure I'm answering your questions, because if you understand USDT.D, you got a good grasp on what's happening with the entire market and kind of getting a good feel for timing as well, at least in my opinion. Going once.
Just a quick one. I don't expect you to answer right now, but I just had a feeling to ask someone a question, and I thought, I wonder if I could ask you that question as well. But I'm obviously not expecting you to answer now, but that's in my mind. I just wondered if some people might be interested in sharing what they feel their strengths and weaknesses have been trading throughout this last, say, 100 days or whatever, like what mistakes they've made and what things they've done well. I'll just invite you to consider that question if you feel led to.
Would a better way to word your question be like, what were some of your mistakes and victories, rather than maybe just strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, so what Ian's asking is, maybe you guys can put it in the chat, maybe shoot an email, maybe share some of your own personal victories and maybe mistakes and failures, maybe some of the things you've learned that would maybe fall into that category of strengths and weaknesses over the past 100 days, and that might be shed some light. If you're willing to share, that'd be good. I won't answer that question right now for me. I'll do some cryptos, but if you guys want to put it in the chat or at the end of class if we have one. Okay. All right, anyone else? USDT.D markets. Before I go into some of these markets, we're going to look at a stock and some cryptos: Rep, ADA, SHIBA, Bone, BAD.AI, and ZNOG. Going once, going twice. Okay, I want to make sure you guys feel like I give you a chance to ask questions, comment, talk, things like that. All right, let's go to crypto. So this one looks like Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton. It's a stock. Oh, Louis Vuitton. Okay. It looks like we have a over the counter. Triple J. Oh, maybe this was yours. Is she here? She's not here. Okay. Triple J, this one's for you. Okay. The candles are very all over the place, which is normal for stocks. One of the things that we can do is, even if we're in a higher time frame, and I still see this, this is not something I teach enough, But you can smooth out your candles, not just by going to a higher timeline, but if you want to keep that timeline because you think there's stuff in there. Oh, she is in here. Triple J, this is the right one for you, right?
Sure. Are you gonna buy me some?
If you want.
I'm gonna wait for my purse.
You'll be surprised, guys. You'll be surprised. We'll give away a lot of prizes. I'm gonna change this to line. Okay, this is one way you can smooth this out. Changing your candle type. It's going to be here next to your toolbar, to the left of your toolbar. This one's called line, and it changes price to a basic line. Now you do lose some of the content and data with this, but you can still get a good flow of price just by doing this line, and even more so when you raise up the time. So if I'm trying to, again, avoid all these gaps, but I think that the gaps, even with the gaps, I'm getting a good flow of price, then you can change your candle type to a line and try to get a good gleam of what's happening there. Now let's just isolate just a few things right now for this stock, and let's turn back on our histogram. Hey, good morning, son. How's my son? The baby son. Happy little dancer. He drink the milk and he plays all day. He's gonna have a happy stay. You guys can't see my son.
Oh yeah, while you're at it, you can add the Chanel to my Chanel bag.
That's pushing it. Let's put back on our histogram. Okay. Now I'm trying to take a macro view of these segments. Okay. So if these segments are over months, like here's October 22 and here's July of 2023, this up segment is one. This is a down segment. This is an up segment. This is a down leg. Okay. This is an up leg. Some of you, I have to have a broad terminology when it comes to technical analysis because people use different words, including myself. But if I'm trying to simplify these and I got a lot of little stuff going on, I can go to a higher time frame, smooth out what's happening. So here's a weekly look and I can get a better idea. If I go to a 2-week look, I'm probably going to get even better. All right, so it's easy to see that in this last segment on the way down, I have a strong increase in volume. Okay, I have a strong increase in volume. I want to check, is there a buying campaign going on? An easy way to know if there's probably a buying campaign going to happen is if the move down comes into health. So if I move into a healthy place, I can just draw my watch lines or my relative key angles and look for health. If I see that there was an increase on the down bars and we move into health, most likely there's a buying campaign. And what that means is that professional money is entering in and we're going to be looking for higher prices. So that's one thing we can look for. Okay. I can also look to see things in the past to gauge how high I'm going to go. I can do a few things. I can turn on my volume target analysis to measure that leg and to see how high we might go before coming back down. I can look at the last events to try to look for resistances. But in the macro, let's just go back to the macro. I want to see, am I going in the right direction? To gauge some of that, let's take a look at the last down move in this example. So here's our down move. In this time when we were going down, there was an increase in volume, especially on the individual bars, like these bars here. There was a down bar here. There was a strong down bar here, there, that one. And the down bar moved to the side and up on very high volume. And then we came down, and then we came down one more time on very low volume. So this is the volume drying up, but the move came into health. All right, the next thing I want to see is if we go up, are we going up on an increase in volume? Now, when we went up, we did not have a super strong increase in volume. In fact, we just went to the side down a little bit. So the market's not really ready for higher moves. If we come back down, then, and I see as we come back down, ultra high volume bars again on the down move, I think to myself, something's happening. There may be a buying campaign happen. I'm going to draw the next watch lines. This one's a flat and that one's here. So the next health that comes in is right here in January 24th. So what I'm believing this is actually happening is there's buying happening here, not in the macro, but in the micro on individual days, individual weeks, individual months or bars. Okay, in this case, it's a 2-week chart. So during this 2-week span, some buying was identified. Okay, if I wanted to just quickly denote it, so I don't lose track of all the variables, I can draw a simple white up arrow. That's how I do mines. And then I type in buying coming in, and then I'll put 2-week Okay, so I know that is a 2-week. There's more buying again that came in here. So now the story starts unfolding. I had moves into health, and I can recognize buying happening in the background. In fact, there was this absorption of supply here and here. So buying, so where would the VZB be if I'm going to be looking? It's going to be here. The buying areas where I'm going to be looking for buying is in that volume zone block. Anywhere in this quadrant, I'm going to be looking for more buying. So they tested the waters. Were they able to remove the floating supply? Yes, they were. And we moved into health. Okay, we moved into health here. They bought, removed the supply. That's why we had a lower volume. And then we moved up into health. That would tell us from right here, this told us we're going up. Okay, that's good. Now, what's the next thing? The next move was this move down here. And buying happened, ultra high volume up, ultra high volume down bars into health tells us more buying is coming in. So we sat down on some of their support and we went up again. Okay, that's buying. Now, if there's going to be any more buying, it needs to be in this zone for it to be a successful campaign. Is there more buying? So now we understand that while we're coming down in this move, it makes sense now. Why would there be a strong increase in volume on the up bars? Because buying is coming in the background. So buying, 2-week chart, buying coming in, and now we have large buying coming in. So I'm going to put the word large. So Louis Vuitton has a campaign that is being launched by it. Now I wouldn't be surprised if we checked the volume back here and we saw an increase in volume here in the up moves. Let's take a look. Lo and behold, the increase is on the up moves. That means the market is in harmony. And then when we do have ultra high volume, it's still on these individual bars into health, which means buying is clear. This has a history of being bought on the dips. We can actually see it. It wasn't distribution. The activity was buying because we move into health and the market's harmony, or the times when we're moving up in volumes, especially we're not excessively, but we're moving up both times on moves that are higher in volume. In addition to that, look at this one here. Look at this individual area back here. I forgot to talk about that one. This moved down, moved into health, approximately here, and it's on also an increased volume. So they're using those times to buy cheap prices. So why would we see increase on the down bar? And the answer is because if you're buying real estate, if you're buying product for your company, do you want to pay a low price or a high price? If you're the charge of $1 million company or a hedge fund or institution or a business in charge of buying product and you want it to go higher, because you want to buy that product and resell it to the market at a higher price. If you buy, whether it's a house or a toy department, you want to pay cheap prices. So if they say, I'll give you a good discount on price, and you believe you're getting the discount, you're going to want to pay more on the down move because you're getting the discount. So you want to buy when it's discounted, it's on sale, okay, if you're going to be reselling it. So we see buying. I have no reason to really believe this is going to be going down based on just this alone, okay? Buying and large buying recently, okay? So does that make sense? As a stock, I'm going to say this is looking good. Thank you, Triple J. Okay. Higher buying is about the same price as the range bar. Yes. So we're looking in this range and we see all this higher buying in the same range. All right, now let's finish up here. So if we have reason to believe we're going up, how do we make money in an uptrend? Somebody tell me, how can I use this to make money in an uptrend? Not that hard. It's a lot simpler. I hunt the down move. Okay, in an uptrend, we hunt the down move. Now, are we in an uptrend in the macro, in the larger story?
Yes.
Yes, we're making higher highs and we're making higher lows. So the lows are going higher and the highs are getting higher. Maybe not this last one, but overall, the story is that we're going higher. So I have to hunt the down move. So I now have reason to believe that I have a relative good pulse on what's happening. I believe buying is happening and I believe a large buying is happening. So if the professionals are getting in, I want to jump on the backs of the professionals and do what they're doing. This is going to be like the hedge funds, the mutual funds, the $1 million funds, things like that. Okay. So if I have to hunt the down move and that's how I make money, where therefore is the down move that I'm hunting? I'm a hungry wolf. I'm the hungry bear How do I hunt if I'm the hungry bear? We look for the fish swimming against the stream. If you're the wolf, you look for the weak one that's not able to keep up against the herd. So where's the fish swimming against the stream? Show me on the chart. There it is. Did you see what she drew? At least I'm going to mute you, okay? Did you see what she drew? Did everybody see what she drew? There it is. I'm going to zoom in now. She drew a large down move here, and that's all we do. If you can draw the trend after you should be drawing it, then draw it, and you can take the trade. Now, where can we take the trade? Can I buy this now? The professionals are buying it. Can I buy it? Yes or no? Generally, okay. What do you think I would say, at least, about this? Can I buy this now?
Crosses the parabolic into health.
Lisa drew a circle on here. Michelle Firecracker says we need to be above in this parabolic health. Okay? And the answer is yes. Okay? Dave, I see you unmuted mic. You got some questions, comments, thoughts you would like to share? Questions, things like that?
Sorry, I just switched from my phone to my laptop as I got back.
Oh, no problem.
I hadn't seen it was muted.
No problem, my friend. Fickle, I don't want to miss you. Oh, okay. Pat?
Hey, very good morning, everyone. Hi, Jason.
Good morning.
Hey, just once we're looking at this particular stock, Louis Vuitton, I came across a video yesterday where they touched on some of the moves, potential moves by Rothschilds and the like.
Yeah. Okay.
And the gist of the video, if I understood it correctly, is that Rothschilds are making some strategic moves in order to move some of the public sector or public viewing assets out into the privates. So that's one. And secondly, the person also emphasized that a lot of the billionaires, including Warren Buffett, etc., have been liquidating a lot of their stocks or assets and sitting on a mountain load of cash, maybe in preparations of things to come, whereby if the market drops, they'll be in a position to scoop up at low prices. So it's interesting that you're looking at Louis Vuitton down here, because I don't know if Louis Vuitton is one of the companies that the Rothschilds are looking at. But the other message from that video was that the Rothschilds are partnering with certain strategic people in different countries to position themselves for whatever turbulence they may be, and position themselves to be better off after the dust settles.
Okay. Good. Let's thank the founder. Thank you, Pat. Anyone else? Fickle? No? Okay, hot mic. All right. Tommy, questions, comments, thoughts?
At this time, I forgot to buy.
No problem. Go back. Anything else? So let's talk a little bit about fundamentals. I like what he said, because I have a thought about some of the fundamentals on these as well, guys. And this is my thought on the fundamental. Are people more likely to spend? Look at the company. What's the company? Louis Vuitton, which is primarily retail. Okay, it might be a very strong sentiment indicator about what's going to happen. Here is 2020. Here's 2021 in May. Okay, after that, come down, come up, come down, come up, come down. Would people become to be more bullish during the next 4 years, or or bearish the next 4 years? What do you guys think when it comes to retail or luxury items? What do you think, and why? Just step back and look. It makes sense. Tell me if you guys catch it.
If the market is good, people will spend money.
Do you think people have been wanting to spend money on retail and luxury goods in the last 4 years?
Not real.
Why not?
But the rich don't care.
And why not?
And the poor want to pretend, so they'll go in debt and buy it.
Correct. But why not in the last 4 years? And why
Uncertainty?
bearish?
Bearish.
Biden's the answer
Yeah.
we're looking for. Biden. American politics affect a lot of the world, because what America stands for, people feel emboldened to move in those directions. That's why Trump was really popular, and sometimes even more in other countries compared to America. In America, he's getting division, but other countries are like, please, they want Trump to be their president. And you're going to see that during the last 4 years, we experienced higher recession. Although the numbers were fudged, it was not good. Groceries, inflation, crazy. People are more apt, therefore, under a Trump administration, to become bullish. The market was really good. consumer confidence was very high. A lot of the markets are going to change under a Trump administration just because the sentiment. People feel like, oh, it's okay, things are going to get back to normal. It doesn't mean things are going to get back to normal, but it means people feel that way. And generally what people feel shows up in the trends and therefore shows up in reality. Okay, because the feelings, emotions create our world. And what you're going to see is that if people have been bearish, here's March, as far as when it comes to luxury items, when it comes to spending more money that we don't really have, you're going to see people more apt to go out for dinner under a Trump administration rather than a Biden administration. You're going to see people more apt to buy that purchase they don't really need to do. What people are not confident in the economy, what they do is they hoard together and they hold their money and they stop the flow of money, which is just a flow. All real money is just a flow. And so again, under a Trump administration, if people feel confident, you're going to see more people and more of that carry out into toy markets, into luxury markets, into retail markets. Don't be surprised. Michelle.
Okay, if we go back 4 years, where was this stock, the price? Because it's in an uptrend. So it seems like it has flourished over the last 4 years.
When did the Biden end? Here's 2024, so 2020 right here. Here is December, was it December 2020? Or is it January 6, 2020? Something like that. February, March. Here's January 2020, approximately right here. There was a boom until May. And after that, it's been here, it's being bought, but it hasn't been moved.
But we had a higher high there. What? Yeah.
Short-lived.
I don't know. We're still in this uptrend.
Yeah, we're still in this uptrend, especially with them getting positioned. But we can see that it seems to be that the retailers believe, or the large traders believe, that they're getting discounted prices. Maybe that means they know something's coming. It means that if they're only wanting to pay higher prices and not ready to bring the markets higher. In fact, this could have the makings of bear and shoulders if we were to enter weakness, and we're very close to weaknesses if we were to get them. But because we are seeing buying coming in, they're confident, but it's just not up yet. So this is still the buying campaign. So I'm going to say that in my opinion, I think what's really going to happen is that we're going to be seeing prices in the sky because of what they're buying. This is the buying campaign before the move. This was a buying, and there's the move up here. This is just buying, the move's here. So has the move happened? This is how I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're going to be here because this is buying, which we already identified. When the buying comes in, the markets need to be higher. When the buying comes in, the markets need to be higher. Okay, this was March of 2020. But now, all that's really happened was just buying in a whole lot of nothing for the past 3 years. And maybe that's how long it takes for reality to onset. That the markets are not really doing anything. That that in America, since 2021, things have been not good. And we've been down even in this past year. So I'm going to be thinking to myself, the move still hasn't started. This is the buying, but where's the move? Here was the buying, we got some move. But now, where's the move? It hasn't happened, at least not for this retail. So I think that it's more likely to break out and change in those directions over the next 4 years, especially when the buying's already almost completed. Does that make sense? Some of the thoughts I'm trying to highlight.
Jason, here's a possible scenario for you to contemplate or consider as well. If those people, affluent people, are taking a strategic position, and they know how the expert traders actually map things and read signals, price, volume, etc. Do you think they may have been strategically moving the price up in a way that seemed to be strong in order to load when they're comfortable the prices are just right before a fall-off?
Yeah, they can. They also need to make sure that they are in a place where it's opportune for them. Primarily, if I was them and I'm trying to pull one on the retail market, I want to make sure that I'm striking in some of those areas and we're not far from some of those big weaknesses, so I have a chance to turn around when I need to. They're trying to buy as close as they can to the supports when they feel like it's a good place. I would think to myself that because we haven't entered weakness, Pat, they have time in case the elections went down or in case they need to change course. If they really wanted to launch a dump, they could drive it up one more time, and then we could see a strong dump if they wanted to, a dump into weakness. So they still have time to play that game if they wanted to. And that's what I mean by opportune. Like, they have a moments when they can get it done. Whereas if they waited too long and they were buying, they're really screwed, because now the retail market, those who were I shouldn't say retail market, those who are in strong holders now are going to be swamping them with supply. It's going to be very expensive for them. It's going to be hard for them to drive it up any higher if they wanted to. And if they didn't already launch their campaign, which is distribution over time, that means they're slowly letting go of all their position instead of accumulating it like we are seeing. I think that would be time to do it. And so they still have time to accumulate, but they also have time to change or reverse course if they wanted to. There comes certain points when they lose their power plays, and then it's very expensive for them to do one thing or another. Just like it's expensive for them to buy here, it needs to be, if they were going to launch a distribution campaign and get good prices and really pull a fast one, it needs to be generally at the tops here. I'm gonna say that, yeah, for a crypto like this, they have time to do one thing or the other. But right now, it doesn't appear that they're really dumping on it. It doesn't really appear that. I don't believe that's the case, at least in my opinion. Anyone else, questions, comments? I believe the number for the breakout is closer to 136 for Louis Vuitton, 136. We need to really get above there. If you see us breaking out into those positions, we're probably ready for the next up move. I won't do the more micro stuff in there. I'm just going to stick to the bigger movement. I will look one more thing for this stock. I'm going to adjust it here. Yep. One moment. Okay, I'm going to be concerned with the core side here. And then that's going to give me a top that's closer to $230, which means that money on the table may be approximately, if we were to go up just from right now, closer to 75%. Closer to 75%. Now, the reason I'm saying that is based on some of the star method gesture techniques that I've been doing privately behind the scenes, and I'm showing you guys more and more of my star method. It's basically the whole mid-phantom transformation concept for this part of star method. And if I take the bottom distance and I can match it up with and I measure it, and I match it up with either the cores or the wicks, I look for that match. I look for me to be halfway between. I look for a price to be symmetrical in that sense. Not that there has to be way more times what price is here, but the distances. And I look for those types of verifications, like here and here. If I find those verifications, it tells me I'm generally doing it right, which means my major top or major target for this season or the next few years, if they launch a buying campaign, because this is a monthly chart, so this is played out over many months, I'm going to be looking for prices to hit somewhere around 250 dynamic positive. Okay, so if we hit May of this year, it's $250. Okay, yeah, June. So if I see a really large up move into health, I'm going to be probably looking to get that far, and that might be a very lucrative move for me. So I don't really want to take profit until I'm hitting the top sections or close to $250. All right, and that's based on some of the measurements I've done that have some verifications based on some of the star method stuff. All right, Kobach says the Hennessy side of business is likely to do good. Isn't that the beer side? Kobach, is that the beer side? Hennessy? Am I mixing that up? Cognac. I don't know what cognac is.
See, is it cognac? It's not a beer, but it's liquor. Oh,
okay. They have about 75 luxury brands. It's probably a good indication of when the retail luxury market is going to be picking up again. If people step into wealth, like dinar evaluating, crypto's really going up, you're going to see people move into, you're going to see luxury markets really probably take off. It's not rocket science. It's going to be pretty easy to see luxury brands doing well, rather than what we've been seeing the last 4 years, store closures, lots of fudging of the numbers. The market's actually starting to reflect what's happening in society when it comes to the actual state of the economy. This next crypto, it's called REP, and let's do this one. REP looks like I got it. Agir. Let's see, we have a Kraken and Gate.io, so let's check the prices. 82 cents. 61 cents on Gate.io DeFi, measured in Tether. Very strong difference in price. Capital 60 cents. So let's use our Capital, our Kraken's map, and let's see how far we got. So I go back to October of 2016. So this looks like an older crypto. Very much data. We're coming down very almost mechanically. If there's buying, we definitely still need to wait for health to come in, if there was. This is an example of a crypto that had a strong distribution campaign. In both the macro, we have a move into weakness. As we're moving up, we have a strong increase in volume, but the move is into weakness. And on the individual bars, there's something very wrong. The strong up bars followed by down moves are some of the highest bars of volume that indicate there's some individual selling on these bars and dates. Here's another example. The high up here for this move into a smaller area of weakness, the highest volume is on the up bar, but we move down. When we come up again, the highest volume is on the high up bars. Are the professional money really paying the high prices, the highest prices there is? Are they really paying the highest prices there is? I don't think so. I think this is a strong distribution campaign in this case. They are not ready. Here's another one. That might be a big clue about what's happening. Some of these strong volume into an area of weakness. So we got to be looking for these clues. Now, if you didn't have that area of weakness, you could have measured it one of two ways. You could have measured it from the parabolic on top or the parabolic on bottom. They're both the key angle either way. So I can see to myself the flow of price is like this up. The micro flow is this. So I'm thinking parabolic, and you can get one or the other. And in star method, I'm going to be showing you the gesture and how to get that even easier. We're going to be using the gesture, which is the middle areas. And it looks something like this. Okay. From here, we can spot weaknesses even faster than we did before. Okay. Once I know those tops and bottoms, after my middle level, I know where the weakness comes in. So I'm going to be showing you guys this more on Wednesday. We're going to talk about this technique. I'm trying to do it on Wednesday. Last week, I ended up talking about reverberations, which is a good foundation. It's part of star method. But this is going to be telling us primarily in advance where those weaknesses are. So if I'm seeing weaknesses in these areas, we can pay attention to some of those a little bit faster than most. Okay. If I was only using conventional sword method, round structure, and peaks, I'm going to be drawing something like this and identify weakness there, which is still not so far away from our first sign of weakness. So if I see weakness followed by more weakness, that's red flags rising up. Now, if this is our major resistance, I'm going to be looking for sword cuts to start coming into play or in those areas. Now, again, I'm being very general with highlights. We could use the wick side and it could give us the sword cut range. But no matter what we do, whether we're using wicks or core, we're still getting a lot of the same story. So when we see the lack of distribution and we see the strong increase in volume in the macro, especially in the micro, into weakness, this tells us it's a very possible distribution campaign is being launched. Okay. Now, if there's a distribution campaign, that means they're dumping their holdings. Generally, we're going to see prices when they move up after this, let's leave this. We're going to be looking for any kind of health, but the foundational area is going to be the big giveaway about where that health is going to come in. So if I'm looking in this foundational area, when is this crypto going to come back to normal? I'm going to be paying attention primarily to these areas, okay? The foundation, meaning if I'm moving all the way down into weakness and I'm measuring this move into weakness, when is the earliest we're going to start coming up? It's going to be above this angle. The foundational area, we talk about that so much in sword method. Here is a better look at the foundational area. So being conservatively, I'm going to draw the conservative one first. It's here, and the wick side is going to be approximately here. Now, this is going to be really important because this is highlighting where those resistance would be. In this case, there's one, there's two. So our first sign that we're weak is just being in this territory. So we don't want to be buying here. And then our next sign that weakness is happening is here. We hit the resistance, we're still likely to go down, but finally we come into a health, but now what the sword cut comes back into play. So I want to be very careful buying here because there's very little money that's on the table before we have a chance to be negative again. And so we come up into that health, challenge 1, 2, 3, come down. So I can be looking for a high volume bars on that day. And sure enough, there it is. Okay. Strong volume on that day on the underside of a resistance tells me there's probably a dump going on. The professionals generally don't chase bars and they don't pay that. Now, if that was pushing and we got to the other side, then we could say, oh, it's pushing. But at the moment, still staying under with high volume tells us we're probably being dumped. I'm going to watch for the next weakness. Now, this is a weekly chart, so this is where I would go to maybe a smaller time frame because that's all the candles we have. And I'm going to go back to that sword cut. Let's talk about some of this just real quick. Here is that same move in slow motion. There's your weakness. There's your sword cut. Okay. I can take that move and say, whoa, why am I getting super high volume up bars on individual max and the individual micro? As a whole, it's a bearish area and it's very high volume under a resistance with weakness in the background. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Watch my foundational area. That's going to be your next clue of what's going to happen next. Here's the foundational area. 1, 2. There it is. There's the weakness right there. And we're not able to overcome. If I saw strong pushing volume to the downside, I know they're trying to drive deliberately that price down. In this case, I don't really see a super strong push, but that's just something we also sometimes watch for. All right, so now we have gone down to a new low. We're going to now adjust the top to account for that larger ceiling. It's there now. Okay. So now the story so far is that we're still going down for this type of event, crypto. All right, now if I'm stretching this out, I'm going to count for both sides. The larger wick side, and then I'm going to count for the core. So I'm going to try to see where it's at. I'm going to go to a weekly chart and see where the cores are at. And the cores are pretty much in the same area. Let's draw one more. That's the wick, and this is the core, and yeah, it's the same angle. So when it's the same angle, I'm primarily using the wick side. So I'm going to delete the core and focus on that area. So now I know, am I going to be going up? Probably not anytime soon. Probably not anytime soon. Generally, I like to see rounding. Okay, generally I like to see rounding. Maybe like that Louis Vuitton. This is almost just straight down. This is almost like straight down. If I also see a really strong peak, I look to see if there's any kind of support. If I see a really long candle with a long wick, but we close near the origin on high volume, that's something different. But if I'm just going mechanically down, okay, without any real buying campaign happening, I'm going to be less inclined to believe that we're going up, okay, until I have health. Now, there is a lot of up volume here in this smaller move, but it could be that this is the best prices since it's a pullback. So the people who already have it, who are dumping because they're in a distribution campaign, they're going to pay the highest prices. Oh, you're willing to pay? You're willing to pay? You're willing to pay? Okay, good. I'll throw my supply at that. Okay, because they're still in active dumping, and then no one's really interested. The professionals are not really interested on the down move, but they are on the up moves, so we're still probably likely in the distribution campaign. With volume, we always have to think both sides of the equation. All right, now I'm going to draw two more things, and we're going to be out of here. I'm going to bring this closer to here. Yep. All right, so here's where we're respecting and rejecting. Okay, so if I take my key angle, my new key angle based on the larger structures, 1, 2, these energy centers, and I take the foundational area, which is along that track, and I take my key, duplicate my key to the bottom side. I'm going to, in this case, use the wick side right there from June of 2021 because I hit core and core. If I place it here, I'm hitting here and here, so I'm doing it right. Now I'm going to be looking for price to respect and disrespect that. Now, if I'm disrespecting it by going on both sides, up and down, yet still respecting it as if it knows it's there, yet we're going in and out of it, what does it tell me? And this is my last quiz for this one. What does this tell me about how far price may be going next? I'm respecting yet disrespecting. So what does this tell me about this line right here? What label might we want to give that line if we were going to label it?
Mid-phantom.
Mid-phantom, that's right. That's going to be our mid-phantom line. We can even denote it by here. Now, if that's our middle line, because price is respecting it yet disrespecting it, we're still within that trend. How can I use this to make money? How can I use this to help me trade if I'm going to be in a trade right now? And By the way, if I'm trading right now, unless I have a strong reason to buy, I should be bearish, right? Because we're going down, the trend is trading down, there's no signs of health, we're not in the next health needs to be somewhere up here. So I have no reason to buy in this right now. But I can short it to make money. I can use it to find that price may fall further. If price is going to fall further, how far may price fall? Somebody tell me. And how do I find out how far price may fall? Easily. With a higher degree of confidence. Not that we can guarantee anything, but with a higher degree of confidence. How far should price fall and how can I find out?
Measure the distance between the key angle and the mid-phantom.
That's right. We measure the distance between the key angle and the mid-phantom. Okay. This is going to give us a good clue about how far price may be going. And why we may be looking at mid-phantom is, again, because price is still respecting it, yet playing on both sides. So it tells us a much larger oscillation is at work. The oscillation is most likely somewhere this far. And all we have to do to calculate that is just take one side and we have one piece of the puzzle, and now we can duplicate it, move it to the bottom side and have the other piece of the puzzle. So I know with a higher degree of confidence that I can take my key angle and now bring it to the bottom side. Okay. That means that the real bottom for this crypto, if we were to go down tomorrow, is right there. And that's 24 cents. But if we play later on in the year, it's 9 cents. I'm guaranteed probably at least 24 cents. Not guaranteed. I shouldn't use that word in crypto. Never use that word in crypto. But it's more likely that if price is coming down, we're probably going to at least hit 24 cents dynamic negative, meaning over time, there's even more money on the table. So I can short it all the way down. That also means if I'm going to buy it, even if I'm going to buy it against my better judgment, I don't want to pay prices today. I've already shown that we're not using this as a support, really. If anything, it's still a rejection. But it's giving us a clue that there's a much larger bottom here. And if you know there's a bottom, why don't you just pay those prices? Even if you're going to buy anyway. Just say, Jason, I don't agree with your assessment. That's fine. You don't have to. That's fine. I'm not trying to sell you on any of this. That doesn't help me none. But if I'm going to be getting it anyway, I'm going to get it along that track or closer to those prices. So that means that if price today is 82 cents, if I'm going to buy it, I probably don't want to buy it until I get closer to maybe 30, 25, or even 9 cents, which is insane because that means there's a lot of money that's still on the table. Okay. Right now, with us having a history of being in a distribution campaign, I don't want to see high volume up bars into weaknesses. But right now, that's exactly what I see. I see high volume with closes near the low. I see up bars with removes right back down in ultra high volume. To me, in a distribution campaign, that's a very big sign that we're still going down. I know that's a little bit counterintuitive to what we talked about today, but you need to know in distribution campaigns, they're looking for the best prices to sell. Okay, they're looking for the best prices to sell. So that activity right here is telling us that they're dumping. So right here, they're dumping. Here, they're dumping. They're still dumping. And there has to be another buying campaign in the background before we really, and a move into health before we even start going into that. So it's a different type of thinking. In a buying campaign, we're looking for something very different. We're looking for the volumes to start increasing on the down bars. After that happens and we move into health, then we can view it as a buying campaign happened. That is not happening here. If anything, a distribution campaign happened. Strong up bars, strong increase, especially on the individual bars into weakness, tell us we're going down. So we're now going to hunt the up moves and use those up moves on high volume, especially like this up move here, to tell us when we should be coming down. So again, REP is going down, and we can probably use it to make money in a bearish market. Now, I like to trade markets that are going in the general direction of my feel of the market forecast. So if I believe the markets are generally going to be bullish, I want to be trading bullish cryptos. But if I'm bearish, I want to be trading bearish cryptos, okay, primarily. If I identify a crypto that always moves counterintuitive to the market, we can also use that with a higher degree of confidence. But those are few and far in between. But every now and then we come across that type of thing.
What was the high of this crypto, Jay?
The high, one moment. Okay. All right. So breakouts above 264, low price 26 cents right now. The high was, looks like back here, $93. Man, from $93 all the way to 9 cents. There's a lot of money that somebody made here. A lot of money somebody made. 99% on the downside, but we don't really measure it like that. We're supposed to measure it from here to here. Yeah, 11,000%. difference. Huge. Somebody made a lot of money dumping this. And no, I don't see any health in sight. Not in a long time. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments about AGUR? Right now, I'm not bullish this one. Jason, could you look at REPv2 on Crack and see if you see something different? My request was that they added to ISO registry. REPv2, Kraken, 60 cents. Here is August 2020, it doesn't include the 16 stuff here. You still have a strong foundational area with round structures, which still has to hit. It's still very high, $1, $2. You got some more weaknesses that are still revealing themselves in the structure here. That's a weakness. That's a weak area. And the high volume in an area of weakness is not a good sign. It's generally a good sign that we're going to be going down. It's not a good sign for higher prices. Okay. But yeah, I'm not going to be bullish this one. Okay. At least not yet. Not for a while. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next crypto we're going to be looking at is ADA. ADA, this is a crypto that we've identified in a healthier position on the monthly chart. We're in a larger uptrend, and we have 3 bottoms that we have identified that helps us know our larger top of $9. So we have $9 that's still on the board for us in these areas. That's really good. And then we have some more smaller moves that are in our future, and that may hint, based on some of these downward oscillations, that we're looking closer to here and these prices back there. Now, I'm going to say that if we were to continue moving up, we want to look for reasons to buy. We want to look for supports we're looking at. And some of the more recent supports we've had are actually this last flat. Okay, this flat is from March of 2024. And we can see that price is operating and flats are at work. So if I show up a weekly chart, this might show a little bit better, make a little bit more sense. You can see that many of our cores are operating at a very strong flat level. Now the wick side and the core side here are very related, and I drew these as targets because they were part of our target system, TL and TL, and they just happen to overlap some of these cores of this core, and this wick is a flat. Now on the wick side, we have a bounce still here in this area, and that means that price is actually playing up here in a good position. We're not really have a strong weakness or a strong area where price is acting very weak for ADA, so I'm not going to be super bearish ADA at the moment. In fact, it's been breaking above its reverberations based on some of these areas here. So price is playing in and out of the reverberations of that larger key angle, which tells us that we may be looking to continuing to move higher or move up to our next levels. In any case, if we make a case for any kind of supports, we're still a little bit far off from the support, but we hit them, so we're not looking to have to come back down to them anyway. Now, what I'm going to be looking for in a more recent days to give me evidence that I'm okay to trade higher up, I'm going to be looking for a down move with watch lines that are broken. And to establish a watch line, we're going to be I'm going to move to a smaller time frame, and let's hide some of these lines so you can see what I'm really talking about. In these more recent downtrends, I'm going to be looking to draw and hunt those downtrends. So I'm going to be drawing lines from these strong waves together, and it's going to look something like that. Okay, that's going to be one thing I'm going to be looking for. The other thing I'll be looking for in the more smaller sense is in the volume. I'm going to be pulling up the volume to see if this up move is on increased volume. Generally, I like a nice gradual increase, and then I want to see the down moves on lack of volume. If I see the volumes on lack of volume, that may sense that this tells us that this move is just a correction, and we're going to be resuming the up move in harmony. Since I don't believe this is a major distribution campaign or even accumulation campaign at the moment, I'm just going to be looking for the lack of volume. I don't really have reasons to really believe this is a large accumulation campaign, but if it was, I want to see some really strong volume on this bar here, and then as we challenge these 3 areas again, I want to be looking for that volume to dry up. So lack of interest in the whole, strong volume on these individual bars. Again, lack of interest on the whole and strong volume on the individual bar. So let's pull up the volume and see what we may see. All right, so this is what and it's exactly what we talked about. That's really good. So I have up move on increased volume, and I don't believe that it's a strong move into weakness or anything like that, but it is because of the macro stuff we talked about. So we're only dealing with the immediate territory, so I'm not really going to be in a bearish camp with this. However, I do see, again, the strong increase in the up move. So as we're going up, the volume's going up, and that's a good sign. That's where the market is in harmony. That's what's normal. Okay, now as we come down to the down move, or in these down moves, there's lack of interest. That means that the professionals are not really interested in these campaigns, but they are interested on the individual discounts they get for special days. Like if we come down here, if I see strong volume on those days, yet we come right back up, strong volume on these days, yet come right back up or move to the side instead of moving down, this is a good sign. Now, we also need to, so we can understand some things that are happening. Number one, the market's moving here in the right direction, and this is moving the wrong direction. So we can view this move down as the correction. So this is a big clue that this is temporarily. This move right here is only a matter of time before we come back up. Okay. And the other clues is that there's smaller buying that is happening on those days on the down bars because we have strong increase on those moves back up or to the side or even into health. So this is telling us a good sign. Now, generally, we can also do one more thing. Here's the wick, here's the core. So I'll use a different color, pink, to denote this last thought. Okay, so if I'm trying to trade ADA more or get a good grasp on what's really happening more immediate with ADA, I might want to draw this area, okay? And I can be using these three areas to compare the volume, okay? Now, if this is a correction, yet there's still some small buying happening, I want to see the volume drying up at these areas. So here, from 1, 2, the volume is almost about the same. So it's about the same. I don't really see any difference. So therefore, that usually when you still see high volume, that means there's still market at those lower areas. So it makes sense why we would challenge one more time. Not that we are falling or anything like that, but when you see a lot of volume in those areas, there's still a lot of trading. So there's people willing to part with their crypto at those prices. Okay, there's sellers that are still willing to part with the crypto in that general area. And if there's buying and they know they can buy it at there, even if there's manipulation, they have reason to manipulate it back down to those areas because that's where they know they can get a good deal. Okay, now when they challenge and bring it there one more time, we can now compare that area in the volume. So this area right here, I can compare with those previous areas. So where is it? Let's draw a ruler, just bring it straight down. And what's the volume like? The volume now starts to decrease. So even though it's higher, they're still buying up, but I can compare it to 1, 2, and now this is 3. Okay. So I can compare these three areas together and I can see it looks like there's a decrease in volume, which means that it's only a matter of time they're absorbing the supply. So small buying is great. Small buying during the correction is good and normal. But once there's no more supply left, then the correction generally is ended, especially if the whole thing is on lack of interest. There's no trading in here. There's little trading in that range. Okay, so if the harmony move is when the market's moving up and nobody's really interested in here, yet the only thing they're really doing is accumulating more, then when the move moves into health, you're going to be looking for ADA to move up. So all we have to do now is just look for that health before we can find the move up. So where's the health? It's actually not that hard. We're going to be drawing the watch line. The watch line is based on these waves of price, okay? So if this is the structure 1 and this is the structure 2, we're going to draw the centers of those energy, okay? And we're going to draw a line between those areas, and it's going to be something like that. So that means that when price is getting to these areas, based on what we've reviewed in the background, we have a higher chance now of moving into health once we come into those areas. Not right now. I don't think today we're going to go straight up, especially with USDT.D. It has another about a week to play before the vortex in January 22nd. We still have about another week. So it makes sense that prices would still be here and yet still be in health. Okay, so I don't really see any distribution that's happening. I do see some small buying that's happening, but we're not in a healthy area. So today I'm not expecting the markets to go up. But if all we did was come to the side in a few more weeks, if all we did was just go right to the side, then in a few more weeks, we're going to end up here. And that's going to be on the side of health because that's on top of the watch line. Okay, so of our watch line, we know to watch it, and we can even set an alert on the line or a little higher than the line to let us know when ADA is finally moving into a healthy position. Once we get here, our odds of going up are more likely to be the case, especially with the market wanting to move up, not wanting to move down. This is market going the wrong way, with buying coming in, and with some support in the larger story in the background, as I mentioned before. A lot of case that may indicate that ADA is actually looking to go higher. Do we have any questions, comments, my take on ADA? I will draw that watch line for you guys. Not that one. Anyone? Okay, here's the watch line. This is the wick side. That's the core. It's about the same angle, so we'll use that wick angle. And I'll set a little alert on mine. Look for breakout on ADA, and then click create. I'll draw this like that, and I'll move my health to that side. The price for the breakout, if the breakout was today, I don't like giving these types of prices as absolutes because prices change every day, dynamic positive or negative. In this case, it's dynamic negative. If price were to break out tomorrow, the number is 11.11.11, so $1.11. But if it's later in the week, such as January 22nd, it's $1.07. So people are going to say, oh, Jason, you said it was that price. No, I give you a track. So the number changes as price goes on, time goes on, this number's going down. Sometimes the angles go up depending on the angle we draw, but if it's tomorrow, it's around 11.11. Okay. If it's next week, it's around 107. Okay. Your job is to draw those angles. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man a fish, he can eat for a lifetime. So that can help you identify when the health comes in, and it increases the odds that it's going to go up. But right now, it's the odds of going up right now are decreased until we get into that health. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions regarding my take on ADA? Questions, comments? All right. I'm so glad. All right. We may be looking at ADA to hit $2.45. I'll be excited about it when it hits. Right now, it's not in position. Let's look at SHIBA. Triple J said had checked 17 to 19 areas, so we will look and put some emphasis on that. Okay, if you have a request, go ahead and put it in my chat on the Patreon, and we're possibly going to look at it on Wednesday, but right now we're only going to be concluding with these four. Here's the next crypto, SHIBA. Okay, take a look at our weekly chart. Okay, SHIBA, as I mentioned before, SHIBA had a setup. It was trying to build above this area and could not. So when the markets were going down, it came back into its range. So this is, as I highlighted earlier in the day when we were talking about USDT.D, and I mentioned about SHIBA, this is what I was talking about, okay? So price, SHIBA has a chance to stand here and move to its next tops, but if we come back into that range, we're going to be still falling back to our next supports and trying to stay and stand from there. So some of those lowest supports for SHIBA for next week are closer to 0.0016, and there is a sword cut based on some of this phantom here and at 0.00021. Now price stopped there few days, and then we broke below today. So today we might have a clue that we're coming down still further for SHIBA. So with USDT.D having a chance to play, we're still going to be looking for us to come down a little bit more while USDT.D is not really doing a whole lot except for hitting the upper resistances in the more short term, meaning this week. So it's possibly still a little bit of a not good week. SHIBA's next big support still coming up, possibly around, again, 16. Current price is 20. If you see SHIBA fall or spike to that area, that's a very good thing. Okay, it's a good thing for higher prices. Okay, something else for SHIBA that I'm going to show you with SHIBA, and we identified this on one of our other SHIBA charts, and that's the flat. Okay, so I think it's on the KuCoin chart. All right, so here's my other SHIBA chart, and this is a look at the flat. On this chart, we can identify that there's a large multi-touch flat that is here. If we wanted to label it, we can label it MTF. Okay, a large multi-touch flat. We're touching here and here. Okay, and then we can use that to our advantage. And I think I did this on the, what's this, the monthly chart? Was when I did it? No. Yeah. I'm doing this flat look on some of these higher time frames. I think it was on the, yeah. I'm using the wick here and the wick all the way up there just to show this flat range, which means I really want to be on some of these higher price areas closer or above 45, above these higher prices at near 88, okay, or 0.008. Okay, somewhere above here is a good indication when SHIBA is going to really take off. Now, because of this flat, we're going to be looking for reasons to continue to reverberate the flat or reverberate this angle. What I mean by that, and I'll hide my lines to show you some of this principle, is I'm going to be looking for reasons on why or where to place my flat. Okay, so if I'm drawing a flat and I see flats working, I'm going to place my flat at the other energy center. So for example, if I place my flat at the core here, I'm looking somewhere for resistances at 0.00006. Okay, I might be looking at the 60 area. Okay, I also going to be looking at the cores and some of my other areas such as here, okay, which that one hit a few days ago. Okay, so being conservative, I'm going to be looking at these places as stepping stones. So we can say with a higher degree of confidence, when prices break 0.00003 4032, that SHIBA has a higher chance of moving higher. Okay, when that happens. Okay, when prices break 0.006 and build above there, they have a higher chance of going up. And similarly, all of these places in between, we can look here at the core and here. Now let's see if we can find places that really overlap. And here's one that really overlaps. These are smaller reverberations of the whole. Now this one already hit, so we're not going to use that one too much. Here's the core, here's the core. Here's the next one. Here's a place where they all come together, somewhere around this range. I'm going to draw this. We're going to use that one. That might be a stronger one we're going to look at. Now that one's kind of nice because it shows up. It needs to be a little bit higher. Good. Okay. So this place is going to give us a top somewhere around 16. All right. So somewhere around 16 cents, we might be looking for prices to find some support. Okay. So that's the 16 cents. And now we can put these two analyses together to give us a little more inclination of what might be happening with SHIBA. So if I'm looking for bottoms, I'm going to pay attention to the foundational area. If I'm still within that foundational area, I want to pay attention and I'm going to be looking for those. Now we already have this foundational on, and I want to check one more thing about this. Okay, let's give you a little quiz regarding this topic. If I'm using this as my angle, okay, if I'm using this angle, and I've been teaching this a lot this month, this particular concept, so pay attention. If this is my angle, am I more confident we're going to be hitting here or somewhere else? And if we're going to hit somewhere else as a support, meaning if SHIBA's going down, is there a way that I can calculate with a more higher degree of confidence that we're going to hit lower or even higher than this angle? Right now, what evidence based on this angle might I use to determine that I might be hitting lower or even higher? Somebody answer the question. Okay. The wicks.
That's the wicks.
The
white line
underneath. And why would I want? And so say I can use the wicks. If I use the wicks, what degree of confidence would tell me that I'm more likely to hit the wick side right now? What would tell me I'm more likely to hit the wick side if I were to place it here, or even here? What might tell me that I'm more likely to hit this? Somebody tell me the answer to that question. You guys are correct.
The overlapping of the flat?
The overlapping of flat, that's maybe one of them. That'd be like a vortex. This would more likely intercept the vortex. That may be one answer. Okay, is there another answer? There's a more... Nolan got it. Nolan, are you able to unmute your microphone? Maybe you're at work. Okay. Nolan put... Oh, no microphone. Same angle. Because he put same angle. If you... And he's right. Let me explain what he's saying and what I'm saying. If you find an angle, and I taught this on USDT.D, that's how I knew that the lower number for USDT.D was going to be hit. And we hit there exactly, I think it was the very next day from when I first taught that on USDT.D. If the angle is the same as the wick angle and that your verification can be performed on the wick like this. Did you see it? Here. The wick hits that one, and it just so happens to be the same angle as the key angle. And it just so happens to have 2 or more verifications. It tells me which angle should I be using as the primary support. Should I use, therefore, angle number 1 or area number 1 or area number 2? Which one? Which one is the real support?
Aren't they both supports, Jay?
They both are supports. They both are.
I guess I'm confused because I've been with you for so long. You taught the core and the wicks.
Yep. Conservative and liberal. We use number 1 as the conservative because it has all the cores. But price has a habit, in this example, of hitting the wicks. So if you're going to be buying SHIBA, do we want to pay that price of 16 cents or do we want to pay 15 something? Which one do we really have a higher degree or chance of getting? 16 or 15?
15.
15.
Same for 16.
You can do for 16. But when you can do 16. And you wouldn't be wrong. You'd be getting probably conservative price. But don't be surprised if you could have gotten 15 because price has a habit of telling you, hey, my real oscillation is here, not here. Here, not here. It's telling you the truth. And you can listen to it. That's how we did the whole example for USDT.D. There was, let me pull it up real quick just to remind you guys that this concept, USDT.D. We taught this the other day. And before it happened, you guys were there, it was this bottom. I drew this for everybody. I said, look, this is the angle for USDT.D, conservatively. Okay, before we were back here. I said conservative. But look, when the angle, and this is what I said in the video, when the angle matches the wick angle, use the wick side. It's telling you that if we come down, you're going to use that as the support, not here. So even though price stepped there, that's something. Yeah, you could use that one. But the truth is, it's telling you, I'm coming down there. And so when I did the video again because I had to show people, look, we talked about this before it happened. And I gave you 2 numbers. And I think it was the 86386 number. Okay? And we did it live. This was that same concept. So when you see that those angles and the wicks are matching, this is something new in 6.0. Again, I haven't taught this in our lessons. But when you see this happen, use the wick side with the more higher degree of confidence. Not always the case, but a lot of times it is. And I like to use that concept. So we've been highlighting it a lot this past month. This is that same thing. I'm letting you know that this is an angle that if we see SHIBA, it's more likely to hit closer to 15. Okay, here's 13, here's 16, somewhere in the middle. If it's next week, it's going to be closer to 14, 15. Okay, everybody got that? All right, so now we can overlap that and then I'll move on from SHIBA and I'll answer any questions, comments, thoughts. SHIBA.
So I think what's today? Today's what, 12, 13? I think tomorrow's the 14th. Let me look at 14. Superfood here. The treat token comes out tomorrow. Can you see if that will go down that low today? Because most likely it's just gonna skyrocket because of that treat token. I would think, right?
Yeah, I heard some good things about the treat token, but I personally can't speak to it. Is there anyone that can?
No, I guess Super is busy. Anybody else know anything?
One moment, please.
Anywho, he put the information on the VIP that if you want to buy it, or it's on 3 different exchanges right now. Work's going to start tomorrow. And then he also put the address on VIP for that treat token. Just saying.
On KuCoin, you can purchase, but they want you to fill in a price, and I didn't because I don't know what the opening price is going to be. I want it as soon as it opens, but they do have that option on KuCoin.
Nice.
What's the name of the token?
Treat token.
Treat token. One that's related to SHIBA, because Superfood posted there's one that's called Treat Token, and then there's one that's Treat, and it's related to SHIBA. And he said to make sure he put the contract, but to make sure you get the one that is related to SHIBA.
Yeah, you can get it KuCoin, Gate.io, and
are they doing drops for this?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't think so. This just came out. I think it was TC who had the video on it and found out the address or whatever, and he saw it on, I think it was CoinMarket, how they were moving and sending them to KuCoin, to those 3 exchanges. And yeah, that's why I was calling on Soup, because Soup can actually give you the scoop.
Okay. So I've adjusted this line and give it a different color to denote that it has been adjusted. So generally when I do an adjustment, I'll try to change the color. I don't always do that, but I'll let you know. So I've adjusted this line slightly to compensate for what we've learned today, or some of the big takeaways we're going to take. I'm going to be more concerned with the wick side, which right now is 15, and next week it's closer to 16. Okay, here is, sorry, not next week, in April it's closer to 16. Now if we don't go all the way down here, that's okay, but that's going to be our big safety net on which we have to look at. So we're going to be using that as our big safety net if we need to for SHIBA, for anyone who's looking to get SHIBA at some lower prices, if we can. Now, if all the treat stuff is generating a lot of hype and a lot of buzz, you may see a lot more interest in SHIBA, but I can't speak to all of that, the whole treat situation just yet. Okay. All right. Anyone else comments, thoughts on SHIBA? Okay. All right. Let's go to Bone. Okay. Bone. I like where Bone's sitting. It's still on top of its sword cut, or it's been on top of the sword cut in general. The parabolic still sweeping on the underside, so if I were to draw it, it's still something like that. Okay, so the parabolic still holding on, price still being in this spot of health, so that tells us Bone still has a chance, although the foundational watch line at the time was really sharp based on cores and the wick still a little bit far away. Let's see if we can adjust it now that we have this right here. Let me see if I can show you with the highlighter. Now that we have that peak and this peak, let's see if we can connect those two together to give us our next watch line. Okay, we might want to start with the wick side, and let's see if we can measure this. Okay, for the wick side, I'm probably going to go with the wick side in this one. It's more conservative. It's not as sharp as this one, but let's draw probably both, because the foundation area contains these two areas here. I don't know if you guys can see that really showing up really well, but because it has a core and a wick here, and it just so happens to touch this one on January 25th, I'm going to say we're probably going to be looking at this angle as being probably the watch line we want to use, which means our next health is actually going to be here above this area. So if Bone is going to do anything, it needs to stay alive here. So if the market's going to still do good, that's going to be where it needs to stay. Okay, and then it needs to do that, and it needs to break above here, and then we have a chance to start moving up. So that's where we're going to be looking at for Bone, if it can stay up. Then we're going to look at some volume and see some things we might be looking for in the volume. Okay, so that's number one. All right, that looks pretty good so far. All right, what things might we be looking for in the volume? If we're in a healthier area, like as we're coming to the flat, I want to see a campaign coming on. I want to see some strong volume in the down moves because we moved into health. So if we moved into health, to make sure it's not just a fluke, I want to see the professionals entering in the volume, which means I want to see the volume ramping up. Okay, I want to see the volume ramping up because this is a move into health. And if it's still in a move to health, I want to see one thing. I want to see either some high volume on those bars and then a lack of volume. So I want to see some real high and then a lack of volume. That may mean there's going to be some more buying coming in, a more buying campaign, and maybe even some secondary buying. As they bring it down here, I don't mind them testing as long as the volume is going down after that. Okay, so let's take a look at the volume and see what we are observing. Maybe it's going to tell us. All right. Do I see a strong buying campaign? No, I don't really see a strong buying campaign. So I don't see that. Is it going to be a strong incentive for them to raise it up? Maybe not yet. Now, I do see that there may have been some distribution on that ultra high volume up bars or up move here. It's really high extra. This is going to be what we call ultra high volume on a single bar into an area of smaller weaknesses, which is probably going to be based on that foundation right there before the move up, that angle. So just to quickly highlight there. Okay, so these two moves showing the distribution that was happening, they're dumping and jumping ship. Now if they're jumping ship, it could be really large buyers, it could be, but I want to see them getting back in. And do I see them really getting back in? Not so much on the macro or as a whole. In fact, most of the moves are on lack of interest. Okay, so I'm going to say that we may be just experiencing a correction because the market's have a strong disinterest in lower prices. So they may bring it back up to higher prices and the market finds a balance. So now this next move up, what am I seeing? I don't want to see excessively high, ultra high volume bars on the up move. I don't mind as a whole for us to go up in harmony, but when I see individual bars with ultra high volume, like up bars, and the weakness follows shortly after, something's wrong with bone. So if I see that, that's telling me, well, why did we go into weakness? Was there still a market up there? Maybe they're doing the same thing that they did before. This could be some distribution happening. So for bone to sit on here is structurally strong. Structurally strong. However, the volume is telling us it's probably not ready for us to see some very high prices for bone. Now, I like that this move, the last one we're going to talk about, these last moves down here. I like that this move as a whole is on lack of interest. That's a good sign that we're probably going to go up again. But with a distribution campaign possibly happening, we're more likely to see them dump prices again somewhere near the top, which is going to be somewhere around that 75 cents. Now, luckily, these are the numbers we all gave you guys as before. We even have a larger target, doing target system at 107. But as it is right now, I really want to be in a healthier position, and then I don't want to hold on to this probably for long-term viewing this. Okay, so I really don't want to be very long-term this just yet, at least until I see a strong buying or move of money coming in. Now, in addition to all of this, since this was on purpose, what might I do to help me probably navigate this stock a little bit better? Just say I have some, and we may come into health because the markets go up, but what might I do to help me know where I may want to still get out, take profit, or look for some prices to get pushed back down? Sword cut. The sword cut is there, okay? Where price broke as we're going up, we came into weakness there. So that's where our sword cut is going to be, right there. So we're going to mark that on the chart and use that to help us, okay? It's going to help us mark and guide the way, and we can even light up those prices. So I'm going to just bring this all to the right so we know what we're looking at, somewhere right there. Let's type in or get a little price note. If it's next week, even if I have a break in higher prices, I'm probably going to be looking for a move up to 60 cents before prices maybe come back down, or look for some people to take profit because they're already taking profit. Okay, so I'm going to mark down some things here with the black arrow, and I'm going to mark this. I'm going to say distribution taking place, and I'll put right now daily chart. Okay, you could probably use daily and weekly. And then I'm going to put one here, so I know on my chart that I can say and remember distribution was happening. Okay, so I'm going to be looking for that. They're selling. They're looking for reasons to sell. So if the market turns bearish, this is probably going to be something I'm going to be looking to short if we're at 60 cents or if we're at the $1.96. But as it is, it's more likely this is not going to hold its position. Even though structurally it's good, we're probably going to fall back maybe even to the flat, and that's the 33 cent to 28 cent prices. Okay. All right, and we can go down further to a 4-hour chart with this type of chart because the volatility, but I'm not going to just right now. Just to smooth things out, we zoom out, but if once we get a good grasp of what's happening, we can zoom back in, and if we have that volatility, we can zoom in to where it's to maybe some more smaller opportunities, but I'm going to leave that there. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments, my thoughts in this larger downtrend of bone? Going once, going twice. Okay, the next one is going to be BAD.AI. Okay, all right. We last talked about this crypto being an area of health here back in the day. Back over here, we were showing some health and resistance. So health area was here, and the next health above is here. But we also have a strong resistance in this area, and so I gave you a health. It looks like with a yellow border. Okay, this yellow border denotes that it's health, but it's not going to really. It probably shouldn't go anywhere. So even though it's a good place for it to be, it also is like a rock stuck between a hard place. But ultimately, if the color's green, that means I'm probably going to be more bullish than anything. Now, most of the times when it's green with a yellow border, I generally don't pull the trigger in cryptos like that. I usually wait for them to play out. So you can know structurally, hey, you have a higher chance of staying bullish, but also you're probably going to get knocked down. So this is what I identified last time based on some of my more in-depth analysis. Now, back in the day, I gave you these circles that I would draw here, but now I'm drawing the circles professionally. But last time we had the weaknesses that are identified here, but now we can delete those. And these are all very sharp. They came down. I showed you there's health along this track. And sure enough, was there health on that track? You bet your grandmother. That's where the area we're primarily looking to be bullish and bearish, down in these smaller areas. All right, now it's not exact science, but in our art, this is the areas where we were looking, and I'm really glad that this map has been pretty accurate. Now, another thing we had, based on this foundational area, if we know that's part of a key, we can do a few things with it. We can take the key and place it on the top section. I think we were looking on a weekly chart for this one, I think, yeah. Okay, we can take the key and place it on the top area, and lo and behold, just this week of December, price hit that number exactly. And I gave you that number. Look at that. Wow. Look at the number. 0.0000065. How many times do we have these maps that are hitting some of these numbers? Because these numbers show you where to be looking primarily. They give you a good clue about where you want to start looking for some of these things to occur. We were bullish, but only for a single week, all the way up there, and then come right back down. Again, why is that? Because for the most part, we need to wait for the real health to be onset. Right now, we're just stuck between a rock and a hard place. So don't be surprised if we come back down, because that's what's supposed to happen in delay territory. So anytime you see me have a health or a weakness with yellow borders, and instead of the normal white that I use, that's an indication that we're looking for prices to bounce around or play a little bit in those times. All right, so that's pretty good. And yes.
Can you duplicate that line and put it on the bottom?
We will in just a moment. Okay. Now, when we have evidence that we have one piece of the puzzle, we already have the key angle, which was here, and it's along that track. Okay. And we are now respecting the bottom and the top. We have one piece of the puzzle. What do we do with the other piece of the puzzle to help us identify with a higher degree of confidence where the supports might be if we have one piece of the puzzle? Somebody say it. Okay, we have one piece of the side. What can we do to help us navigate, protect our money, make money sometimes? What can we do? Nobody? We got one piece of the puzzle, okay, with a high degree of confidence and accuracy. We got a piece of this puzzle. What do we do? Okay, going once.
Can you DP that down?
We DP it down, yes. In other words, we treat this as if it's a mid-phantom transformation from SOAR Method 5.0. We're going to be doing a lot of this stuff when we start getting more into STAR Method, but I'm going to be taking the distance from the top side as if I'm measuring it. And then I'm going to be duplicating that oscillation to the bottom side to understand where the larger oscillation is at play. It's here. And then I just take this angle as if it's the key, and I bring it down, and now I have a high degree of confidence of where the bottom's at. Now, this may not include all the exceptions to the rules, but it should highlight where primarily the bottom should be. Especially with mid cryptos, you got to read the essence of what price is doing. And it's highlighting the fact that this is a bottom. Okay. We knew that this was a bottom based on these two peaks. That's the phantom. This is the key. That's the phantom. So we know that this area is a bottom. If there's another bottom based on the next oscillations that are occurring, it's very possible it's somewhere here. All right. Now that's great. So if we're trying to buy it, if we're going to buy it anyway, it may be probably best to buy BAD.AI somewhere about those prices. And are we at those prices today? Yeah, you're at those prices today. Look at the red candle stopping right there. You're right there. So if you're going to buy it anyway, even though it's messy, this might be some of the best prices. So if anyone's waiting to buy BAD.AI, that might have been where you wanted to buy at a lower number. Okay. You may not go anywhere for a while, but that's something where you want to look. All right. Now, I'm going to reveal one more probably clue, all right, of where we want to go next. And I'm going to, for this example, I'm going to hide my lines, and then we're going to adjust them in just a moment. If I take now a better look, because now I have more time, more information, I've identified this is the top, this is our wick side, and this is our core side of that energy center. Of this energy center, here's our wick, and here's our wick at the top. And here's our core. So Now, can I do the same with this third area? The answer is yes. I have some structure here. So where's the wick? It's somewhere here, and the core is somewhere about right there. All right. Now, would it be in my best interest to try to collect these 3 points together and try to line them up? The answer is, yeah, we want to do that. All right, let's try to see if we can. Let's see if we can line up all of these together. So here we go. This is not the exact core angle that we had before, and I'll explain why. When I had the core angle before, I'm missing some of these top pieces, and yet it is a top. When I bring the wicks only, I still miss out on those angles. So that's not the answer. But I do have a top there, so it tells me there's more going on. If I can line all of them up, I might be able to find and identify a new angle by which I didn't have before. And in this case, the answer is going to be here. This wick just off to the side, this wick's in that same place, and these wicks. Now, why might I do that? Even if you didn't see that, why might I do it? Can anybody probably catch why I might want to do it? There's about 2 reasons why, maybe at least 1. Why might we highlight that angle? Energy center. Anybody? The answer is there's about 2 answers.
Just eyeballing it, it looks like it might line up on the bottom.
That's right. That's exactly. Just eyeballing. It may line up on the bottom, and sure enough, it pretty much does. Now remember, we're dealing with messy crypto, so we can be a little bit more abstract, but correct. The center of this energy on the downside is there, and that energy center is here. So that's one of the answers. We can make an estimate that says, hey, it looks like the oscillation is actually here. And therefore, the next real big health structure we're looking for should be at least there, whatever price that is. And that is 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 zeros, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 zeros, 1, 7 zeros, 1, 7. So if I'm getting prices at 7017, I'm going to be looking to go up. And until then, we can still be coming down. So I want to be paying attention carefully to that angle, because that angle is telling me I'm doing it right. Another clue we have is if we take the angle and I bring it to the top side, I'm still somewhere in the ballpark. Although this one is not a little bit messy, I'm still getting somewhere in the ballpark of some of these higher wicks. But if you had an exact wick match, then you really got to pay attention. But we don't have that all just yet. But somewhere in your mind, you got to be gravitating to some of these larger things. So those are clues. If you didn't already line it up, you got some backup clues. And that's just to try to see this. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you one more angle. And you could say, which one's going to work? They're probably all going to work. But one more angle. If I were to match the wick angle, let's give it a different color. I have to change the color because I'm using a different angle. I'll use green this time. If I were to use this angle here, something like that, probably needs to be a little bit lower. If I were to use this angle and I duplicate that angle, guess what? This is where I do start getting a match, or somewhere in the ballpark. Wick, core here. So that tells me we have 2 areas of larger health. Probably number 1, which is the one we did in black, and number 2 up here, which is also an area of health. And that price is higher than that original 1.7. It's much higher. But I can use these to start navigating the larger story. So if I see prices coming up here, and then we go up, and then I see us break up again, I'm going to be saying, oh, we are in an uptrend. We're probably going to be going up with more of a higher degree of confidence. And then we can DP these by taking the distances and moving those distances to the top side and get a good idea of where we're going next, much, much higher. As it is, with all I having is this black area, I can take the DP projection and see if there's still money on the board. And what I mean by that is if I know price is oscillating here and we break up again, if we break up, I can take that distance, even though it's smaller, and move it to the side and then draw a flat line along that area, or not a flat line, sorry, an angle, the same key, in this case it was black, and get a good idea of where we might go. So if I go here, that means I'm probably going to go to there. Okay, so let's do that in real life, and then we'll go to the last crypto. Okay, so if I were to take this angle and the distance here, this is how to manually do it. I'll just draw a line then I'll take that angle and move it straight up, and then take my ruler and bring it down. So now, for today or tomorrow, I know that tomorrow or next week, if price goes straight up in the air, we're probably going to see resistance at here. Come on. Right there. Okay, so if price goes straight up tomorrow, and I don't think that's going to happen, but if I did, I know where to take profit. I need to take profit at least whatever price that is. Let's mark it. The price is somewhere between 6.5 and 8.5. That's about halfway, so about closer to 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 7.5. Okay, so 7.5 is right between 6.5 and 8.5. So somewhere around 7.5, I know to take some profit and make out like a bandit. Okay. Oddly enough, that's very close to the resistances based on that green area. So with a more higher degree of confidence, there's a lot of reasons why I probably am not going to stay up there. I'm probably going to get knocked down. And they tell me the same story. All right, so let's just quickly add those numbers on your chart, and I'll do it, and it's just this quick. So let's take the red one and adjust it. We'll change it and we'll adjust it to black. I'll count for those. So we're going to use that second core. There, and there it is. Okay. Now I'll delete the red one. All right. There we go. And that's correct. So now I'm going to take that distance from there to there, just like I did in real life a little while ago. We can bring this all the way down to next week. And there's going to be our price. So the next price we're looking at is going to be, I'll save that one for you guys. If it's next week, the price is all the way to closer to 9.3, it looks like. 70.93. And now we're going to do one more. That one I showed you, that was in green. And that was taking this area here and try to collect it with these three. And I did that one in green. We're going to duplicate that one and bring it to the wick side. And I'll bring one more for the reverberation at the core. And there's the first one at the core. We'll give you both of those numbers and some health and resistance. Here's a vortex, it looks like. The vortex closer to January 27th. So if we have a really bullish move, but we're stuck there, I'm going to be very bearish. But if we break to the opposite side of those and sit on there, I'm going to be very bullish. I don't think that's going to happen, but it can. Okay. And the vortex is these numbers on the screen. 7069. That's the vortex. The resistance at 9.3, they're all in the cluster of resistance. This is all right there. And the breakout number, by the way, let's borrow this one. And the breakout number for tomorrow is 7018. All right. So we can borrow a health and use that to help us guide us to tell us when we're going a little bit higher. All right, that's going to conclude all of this for Bad Idea. Anyone else have any other questions, thoughts concerning Bad Idea? All right, so I'm not super bullish just yet. Wait a little bit until we get some more health. This is something I had a vision about a couple years ago. I saw the word Bad Idea, bad, come up, and I was like, bad? Is bad a crypto? And then I looked up and it was Bad Idea, and it's a type of AI. So there might be some very interesting things. If we move into health on lack of interest, that means that this entire move is a correction. The market should be moving up higher. But if we don't move into the health on lack of interest, you're going to probably see more prices lower to follow. Okay, but right now we need that health. Then we're going to be continuing to be bullish. All right, the last one is ZNOG, Zion Oil and Gas. This is a crypto, a stock. And I really believe that this stock is, in a simplistic sense, is going to be definitely tied to when they strike oil. But until then, we really need to look for like really strong signs. So if we see like really strong signs that we're going up or anything like that for this crypto, for this stock, it just helps us position. But this is one of those that it could be in a really bad position. But if they strike oil in a big way, then you're going to see this just take off. So either way, it's risky in that sense. Okay. Sometimes as a stock itself, I would say it's bullish or bearish. But remember, this could be very bearish and all of a sudden overnight become really bullish. And just letting you guys know. Now, until then, I think I've only been bearish this one for a while. And this is in the area where there's more resistance at 11 cents. I have been noticing that flats have been at work for this stock. Here's a monthly chart. This stock, I said, listen to what I put last time. Let's see. This stock has moved into a better position with buying in the most recent down bar this week. It is possible it will build in this healthy area. It needs to be watched more closely. Possible DP projections near 25 cent minus. Okay, and that's based on this larger parabolic. So if we go up, it is going to need to overcome some things. But we're going to, at the most part, we still have some resistances based on some of the flats. So the flats are very active. Flat here based on structures, round structures. When we come back up, that's what our resistance should be. Look, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, here's the last flat. So when we come underneath there and rise up to that flat, we should be coming back down. Now, why am I saying this? Because you can identify the flats and get a good idea. Look, 1, 2. Where's the resistance? It's on the underside of here. Where are we? We're on the underside for the most part. This has to be really cracked. Okay, now you could say we're wicking against these wicks and these cores, and stocks you can be a little bit more vague because they are messy. But this is still not a best position for this crypto to find resistance in a downtrend on the underside. It's not good. All right, now I'm going to adjust this to account for the weekly charts. So this white line needs to be adjusted. So I'm going to account for this angle here. Okay, so if I stretch that angle out, I'm going to bring it to the highest area. Okay, somewhere near the core. Between those two, because this white red bar is actually higher, which is strange, but it happens in the stock market. So I'm going to put it right there in the middle for this one. We still are bearish, and I don't really want to be bullish until we get in a better position. So I'm going to put adjusted, and I'm going to put the word monthly. Okay, so for Zion oil and gas, I'm going to say no. Okay, now where's our bottom at? Our larger bottom, it's going to be the phantom here, down on the underside. Now this is still being conservative because I'm only accounting for the cores here, but it might be somewhere here. Now if I count for this wick down here, but we're playing down here, this may be a clue that we're going even further, but let's just make it conservative and try to account for this angle, that angle, and maybe just say some messiness. I'm going to say the average is somewhere around here. Okay, so therefore our bottom is still on this side where we had it last time. So no matter how we slice it or dice it, we still start telling a story that we're coming probably to 1 cent if the market is bearish in the stock market. Now, I don't know if that's all gonna, the stock market's gonna turn around on a dime on Trump's border, on Trump's watch. Markets go up and down, no, really regardless of who the president is, but certain sectors will have a more easier time going up, again, like retail, as things are getting better. But with oil and gas, I don't really expect this to do super well until they really hit, or until there's a really strong reason to buy. But right now, at the moment, I'm gonna put a bearish marker here, and because we're still underneath this, and after it's been adjusted, and we're still underneath this flat, this is still a top. So we really are gonna be bearish there and bullish a little bit higher. So if I count for next month, the bearishness is going to be there. Sorry, the bullishness is going to be above this price, and the bearishness is going to be here, but still, this is still a little bit bearish territory as we discussed those flats last time. All right, so the $15 bullish number, $12 still bearish number. The support's probably going to be closer to 1 if we come back down. All right, I don't really have much more for you than that. The higher numbers still stick. They're just going to move to the side a little bit based on that. This oscillation, if we continue going higher, we can still see 23 cents. But if I'm only seeing spikes to 23 cents, I'm going to be bearish. I want to see candles get above 23 cents. So based on that parabolic DP, that would be indicating we're going to go up. So I'll give you that. And these are going to be the final numbers I really have. Okay, so that's all I really got for you. Get me above the DP of I need to adjust this. It's not symmetrical. Let's adjust this it needs to come down a little bit lower. I'm sorry. Let's try to move this. There we go. Okay. I'm going to take the distance here and here, and there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's still right. It's still correct. So my eyes move to the left a little bit. And move it up to match. Okay, yeah, still around $23. This is just going to move a little bit higher. There we go. Okay, so I still want to be looking very carefully for when the health come in and not really taking action until I see a real good reason for Zion oil and gas. Any questions, comments, my thoughts, my TA on Zion oil? Going once, going twice. If you missed the Word Room this morning, I challenge you guys to watch that Word Room. I want you guys to watch the session today, listen to it. If you miss it today, listen to it this week. But I want everybody to watch today's Word Room. It's a short message, not the sermon from yesterday. I like that sermon from yesterday. It was called Don't Change in the Window. So, yeah, don't change in the window. And it's a little clickbaity-ish, but it has a real strong theme for the actual message. So watch this message from WordRoom yesterday, this week. But if you just have only a little bit of time, watch today's recap of James, okay, where we talk about being quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. Okay, we'll pick up that on Wednesday. We're going to pick up the rest of James chapter 1. We're taking our time with James chapter 1. I sure do love you guys. You guys have a great day. We'll be right back, and I'll here to answer any other after class questions.